Today we are interviewing local author Heidi Herman. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. I'm actually a little more distant than local. I'm local attached. So um, I currently am in Arizona. I snowbird down here for the winter, and some of your patrons may have known my mother, Heidi Herman, who is also a local author. But she did pass away last year, but she has many wonderful books. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
So can you tell me a little bit about you and your books?
Yeah, my name is Heidi, and I was born and raised in Illinois. My mother was from Reykjavik, Iceland. Met my father during World War II. They met at a USO dance. So um, when she was 20, she moved here to the United States. They got married, and they raised a family here. But after she retired, when she was 88 years old, she decided she wanted to pursue the dream of writing. So she took a correspondence course in children's writing, creative writing, and graduated from the class and wrote her childhood memoir. And it's a memoir of growing up in Iceland from the age of 10 to 18 when she met my father, got married. Based on that book, there were so many really cool things about Iceland in there that I wrote a couple of children's books based on the mythology of Iceland, the 13 Trolls of Christmas. And then I did a collection of folklore. And then my mother and I did a cookbook together, and I followed that up with a novel, and she did another young adult book. And the most recent book that we had completed was her 93 new things in a single year when she was 93 years old. And she did that to prove that you're never too old for something new. So while we did that book for her travels of 93 new things, then I wrote another book that sort of goes along that theme on how anybody can have a life like that. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Mhm. The two of us together, we have 10 titles now, and so all of them are available. I believe that all of hers are in the Burlington Library collection.
Right.
Yes, we have always been big fans of the library. I mentioned I was born and raised in Illinois, and that's where I lived when I published my first book. So we did a lot of presentations at the library there in Morton, Illinois, and Bloomington, Illinois, and Peoria. um, and we have always just really loved any local library, and to come, and the research and just whatever you need, the library has, and it's wonderful. I think I have library cards from 5 different states. And wherever we have been, and wherever we've traveled to, if we were there longer than 3 weeks, we could tell you where the library was.
Well, perfect. So I take it you did use the library in a little bit of your writing?
Absolutely. What's interesting about writing in so many genres, as I've got children's books, and then I've got a collection of folklore, which is more, older kids, and adults also enjoy that, and a cookbook and a novel. There are so many different things that have to be researched. Um, for the cookbook, we didn't want to just translate recipes from Icelandic, but when you look at some of the old recipes, after I translated them with my mom, I'd look at that and say, what is hartshorn? I've never in my life heard of hartshorn. And you have to go research that to figure out, and you can't help it. Once you start down that road of research, you become fascinated. Hartshorn is actually the scrapings of an antler from animals like elk or deer or reindeer, if you will. And it was one of the early things that people used in place of baking powder and baking soda. I can't even comprehend what it would have been, the first person to do that and to figure out that that was, something that can actually leaven your bread.
Right?
um, right. But you can't help when you come across a tiny piece of trivia like that, and it makes you all of a sudden want to go, oh, I want to read a book now on, the frontiersmen or anyone who settled the United States or a foreign country. How did they know how to cook things? And what did a cookbook look like 100 years ago, 200 years ago? And all of a sudden, of course you're going to go to the library because that's where you go for things like that. Internet searches are great for general topics and to find out how to research what it is that you want to do. It's almost like a very generic card catalog. I remember, I'm showing my age here now. I remember what it was like to sit there and kind of go through the card catalog and just filter through, and it was almost like flipping through an encyclopedia of all kinds of interesting things that are out there that you don't even know are there. So that's what makes research fun, is let yourself go down those rabbit holes. I did the same thing when I was working on my novel. I started my character in Iowa, and she traveled across going west and went to Wyoming and Idaho. And I wanted to research each one of those small towns where she stopped at along the way and find out what historical significance I could find, or what was interesting, or at one point I needed to look up the original railroad timetables for, 1940. Wow, how do you find that? I mean, there are certain things that you can't search on the internet in today's world to find out how something was 50 years ago, 100 years ago. You almost have to go to that original source. And the library is the repository of original source material. So, yeah.
We do. We have a back room just full of treasures, basically. And every time I go in there, I find something new that I didn't know anything about that's not out there on the internet. It's here in this building.
Exactly, exactly. And the fun thing is, you don't even know what it is that you're missing out on unless you come by and just start looking. It's like going to an art museum. You don't even know what art is there until you start walking through and you look at what's on the wall, and then all of a sudden you say, I really like that. What artist is that? And then you start researching that artist, and all of a sudden now you've got a favorite. Well, it's the same thing with books or topics. How do you know who your favorite author is if you don't read a lot of them? Or at least peruse through and read the back cover.
Yes, that's acceptable too.
Yes, yes. So yeah.
So where can my patrons find your books?
Some of them will be on the shelves there at the library. They are all available from the publisher, which is Hekla, HEKLA.com. And the story behind that, Hekla seems like such an odd name, but it's actually the name of a volcano right outside of Reykjavik in Iceland. And so that is a nod to Icelandic heritage. Every book that Hekla publishes has some connection to Iceland. And of course, a lot of their books are available on Amazon and your local bookstore there in Burlington.
Perfect. I'll be more than happy to share that information with them. And I want to thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks. Good luck with the project online now.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy.